The Nevada Wolfpack bring in new coaches from a top-notch program. Can they get the ship turned around, and could it mean trouble for the Gophers? We'll dive into if that's realistic today.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Gopher fans? You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. We are back at it again, 5 days a week. The football season will be here before we know it. In fact, there is an open practice this Saturday where you can get a first look at your Gophers at Huntington Bank Stadium. I believe it's at 6:30 p.m. So hopefully y'all will come through. But today we're breaking down the Gophers' Week 3 opponent in the Nevada Wolfpack. We're also going to talk a little bit about the latest news for the Gophers, including a decommitment from the class of 2025, a commitment to the class of 2025, 2 award watch lists, and lots of things to talk about. So overall, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Wolfpack and the strengths, weaknesses, and make or break for Week 3 with Minnesota. So be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star review so others can find it. And let me know in the comments what you're thinking with this year's Gopher schedule, which team you're most excited is on the schedule, any games you might be traveling to. Let me know down in the comments below, but let's get to it. Let's jump into the latest news, including Darius Taylor being listed to the preseason watch list for the Maxwell Award. Now, the Maxwell Award is awarded to the best all-around college football player, an outstanding player. Basically, it's a college football player of the year award aside from the Heisman. Now, Minnesota has never had a winner of the Maxwell Award, so that would be extremely impressive if Darius Taylor could pull that off, bring that award home as a true sophomore. Now, there's 80 people that have made that watch list, but it's awesome to see Darius Taylor make it, especially with only 28 running backs on there. I believe 5 of those running backs are in the Big Ten, so the Big Ten has the big dogs when it comes to their running backs, but it's truly an honor to see him on this list this early. The last Gopher to be on the Maxwell Award preseason watch list was Mo Ibrahim. So we've got I guess running back is deep for the Gophers in their history, and you like to see Darius Taylor on there. Maybe he can bring it home, but that wasn't the only watch list named for a Gopher player. In fact, Ariante Ursery was listed as a preseason watch list for the Outland Award. Now, that is awarded to the best college football interior lineman. But that being said, they also started to include offensive tackles as well. So usually you'll see a center, a guard, a tackle, or a defensive tackle. It can be on the defensive side of the ball as well. So Ariante Ursery makes that list. That said, Ariante Ursery, like I said, he is an outside lineman. He is a tackle. There are many other tackles on this list. It's slightly confusing, but I digress. Anyways, the last Gopher to be on this watch list was John Michael Schmitz in 2022, and 3 Gophers have won this award, the Outland Award, and the first one being in 1960 with Tom Brown, the second one being 1962 with Bobby Bell, and the third one being 2005 with Greg Esslinger. Now, only 6 schools in the entire nation have had more than 3 winners. That's Nebraska with 9, Alabama with 6, Oklahoma with 5, and then Ohio State, Texas, and Iowa with 4. Otherwise, Minnesota is the next up with 3, and the only other school in the country to have 3 winners as well is Notre Dame. So it's good company to be in. It's definitely an impressive accomplishment for the program, and hopefully Ariante Ursery can make it number 4 for Minnesota and put them in that elite category with Ohio State, Texas, and Iowa. It would be awesome to see, but it's great to see Gophers getting some love on these preseason watch lists. Now, flipping the outlook of this podcast in this opening, latest things for the Gophers, we need to talk about a decommitment and a commitment in this Gophers 2025 class. We'll talk about the negative first. So Minnesota loses a 2025 commit in offensive lineman Zach Stowski. Other offers he had were from Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, Cal, UCLA, Boise State, and a few others as well. He's a 6'6", 275-pound lineman, offensive lineman, but unfortunately, he's not staying committed to the Gophers Gophers. He is initially from Oregon, so he's a West Coast kid. He was the 5th highest graded player in Minnesota's prospect class of commits, and now he recently visited Washington, the Huskies, the latest team to the Big Ten, and it seems like that's probably where he's going to end up flipping. It's closer to home, so you can't necessarily blame the kid, but it does stink that he is no longer going to be locked in with Minnesota. That being said, the offensive line was the deepest position in this commitment class that Minnesota has going. And on top of that, they had some really nice commits in the offensive line in 2023 and 2024. So we still have a lot of depth in that room moving forward. So I guess it doesn't hurt as much, even though you never like to see a decommitment. Now, on the flip side, we got a new commitment. The only safety in the Gophers 2025 class. They gain a commitment in Grant Grayton. He is rated the 69th safety in this class, from Maryland, 6'2", 185 pounds. Now, other offers he had were Bowling Green, UMass, Memphis, New Hampshire, Temple. No other power conference schools quite yet. That being said, he did earn this offer by going to Minnesota's camp on July 27th, and he was out there playing against a lot of the commits in this upcoming class for Minnesota, along with other players. A lot of people said he was the best defensive back on the field. He was locking people down. He was shifty. He could change in direction really well, and he earned an offer from Coach Fleck and Coach Collins. Now, he comes from the same high school as Mo Ibrahim, so you like to see that ties together from past to future with Gophers, and he is the sole safety, like I said, for this Minnesota class. So a lot of things kind of shifting. I'm sure we'll still have some question marks as far as who will stay committed to this class and if they bring anybody else in due to the football season's getting ready to get going. If other big power schools come along during their senior years, we've seen some shifts and some movement and momentum during the actual seasons and as we get closer to the national signing day. So like I said, no one is safe. No one is locked in for your Gophers commits until they sign their national letter of intent, sign on the dotted line on national signing day, which won't take place until the late fall. So hopefully we can keep this class going. I believe we have 23 commits in the class right now, and hopefully it can stay that way or continue to grow beyond that. But that's going to do it for us in the latest updates for your Minnesota Gophers. Next, we're talking about week 3 opponent in the Nevada Wolfpack. They've got a new coach, and he could be the coach to get this thing shifted in the right direction. A la David Braun with Northwestern, Jeff Choate might be the guy for Nevada. We're going to dive into that coming up next. First, I definitely want to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time, because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier, and the prices on the Game Time app actually go down as you get closer to that first pitch. So if you're thinking about getting a baseball game in here before the summer is over, you're definitely going to want to take the time to get used to Game Time and find the right tickets for you, because they have killer last minute ticket deals. They have all-in prices, so you don't have to worry about finding extra fees towards the end. You can get views from your seat, and they have the lowest price guaranteed. So Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets for the MLB, but it's not just the MLB when you're coming to Game Time. They also have up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it. You can probably find it on Game Time if it's in an area near you. So you're definitely going to check that out. And they have the Game Time ticket coverage, which your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So you're definitely going to want to give it a try. Game Time has the lowest price guarantee, and they guarantee it. Otherwise, they will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets for the MLB and more. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create a code, download the Game Time app, and then use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Take advantage of that today. Now, we also have to talk about the one, the only, in Factor Meals. Factor Meals is definitely where you're going to want to go. Warm, sunny days, they're calling, and you want to fuel up. And Factor's no prep, no mess meals are definitely the way to go. You can meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals and options with Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, you name it. Factor has fresh, never frozen meals, and they're dietitian approved and ready ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. They also have 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. So you'll have new flavors to explore and you'll never get sick of what you're going after. Now treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. And on top of that, you can keep the kitchen time to a minimum. That's definitely my favorite part about them. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, no prepping, no cooking, and no cleaning up. So it's definitely perfect for an effortless lifestyle. On top of that, you can head on over to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use promo code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month as well. So again, it's going to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. And you're going to use that promo code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. You'll get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, Gopher fans, we are diving into the Nevada Wolfpack. We're breaking down the changes in coaching. We're talking about the impact players coming in from the portal. We're talking about returning production. And if this team can really give Minnesota a scare coming from a G5 level, a team that has been struggling over the years, but they have a new coaching staff. So we're going to kick it off with them first. You've got Jeff Cho. He is a head coach. First season as a head coach. He was the co-defensive coordinator for Texas last year and the linebackers coach as well. He's been there since 2021. Now, they had the best rushing defense in the Big 12 last year and third in the country. They were also fourth in the country in red zone defense, 13th in the country in scoring defense, and 23rd in the country in total defense. So Texas and Jeff had a top 25 defense in the country in most of the main categories last year and earned some college football playoff experience as well. Now, he also has experience with Boise State in their heyday, Montana State in their rise, and then Texas as they were getting back to relevance. So it's definitely a coach who has been a part of a lot of turning programs around and getting them back on the map. And that is exactly what Nevada is looking to do moving forward. So will this be the time? Can this be the year that he gets things back on track? Can he make some noise? Now, it might not be an immediate flip. It might not be immediate success, but if you could pull off an upset against a power school, that will gain you a lot of momentum. So this will definitely be circled on their calendar as far as the matchups they have this upcoming season. This will likely be a job where he gets some time to develop while also showing flashes first defensively, but also as a whole. But you can bet that if they could make some noise against a Power 5 school, that will incite belief in this program and help them get going. And this is one of their first opportunities to try and do something early in the season. Now, he brings in an offensive coordinator in Matt Lubick, a first season with Nevada as an offensive coordinator. He's also been an OC with Nebraska from 2020 and 2021, Washington from 2017 in 2018 and Oregon in 2016. Now, it's not necessarily promising that all three of the offensive coordinator position stops were 1 to 2 years maximum. Definitely looking to redeem himself in that area, but he spent the last 2 years with Kansas as a senior analyst, and that offense has been high flying the last couple of years as well. Now, he has a lot of experience as a pass game coordinator, including with the 2014 Oregon Ducks that made it to the Natty. So if he can get it together, the offense could be high-powered over time, especially. I'm not going to say immediately, but then you got the defensive coordinator in Kane Ione. First year as the defensive coordinator, he was the co-defensive coordinator with Boise State from 2021 through last season, and he led the top defense one of the top defenses in the Mountain West Conference for the last 3 years. And he also had a Mountain West championship team, I believe, last season. So he has been in this conference that Nevada plays in. He's found success and knows what the opponents in this look like. He knows what a top tier school in the Mountain West looks like, and he's hoping he can bring those characteristics to Nevada. So it seems like they've got a staff that could get this thing turned around in a quicker amount of time. But do they have the players? So let's take a look at the impact transfers. In this next season, they have 24 transfers coming in, and 16 of which are coming from power conference schools. Now, like I said, the coach is coming from Texas. Well, he's bringing some Texas players as well. Savion Red, a running back from Texas. You've got Kai Woods, another running back from Texas, and then Christopher Ross, an edge from Texas. So you like to see him bringing over some of those guys that maybe couldn't get time with that power program, but coming here to make some noise in the Mountain West. Then you've got Destin Hawkins, a running back from Syracuse. You've also got Patrick Garwo, a running back from Boston College. That's 4 running backs I've listed right there. So you can tell this offense is probably going to want to run the ball quite often, keep time of possession. He's going to want to play some PJ Fleck style football, I think. And so overall, you've got those type of players. You've got Dylan Lopez, an interior offensive lineman from Oregon State. You've got Chuba Purdy coming from Nebraska. He's a quarterback, brother of Brock Purdy. On top of that, you've got Caden Johnson, an edge rusher coming from Wisconsin. You've got Andrew Savelnia. That I absolutely said wrong, but we're going to go with it. He's a tight end from Florida. You got Spencer Level from Kansas, and then Keyshawn Cobb from West Virginia. That's just a handful of the guys transferring in. Now, when you're looking at the quarterback, their starter last year was Brendan Lewis. He is back, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee he's going to be locked as the starter in 2024. It does sound like he is leading the job, though. Now, last year, Brendan Lewis threw for 1,300 yards, and he also did that on 55% completion with 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, so it's not exactly job-securing stuff there. They also have Chuba Purdy, brother to Brock Purdy, transferring from Nebraska, but that said, his numbers weren't anything to write home about either. So I would expect another year of likely poor quarterback play from the Nevada Wolfpack. That said, Lewis adds an element on the ground as well, where he nearly had 500 rush yards. So he's definitely someone you have to keep track of, and you can't lose when you are a defensive or a defense looking to stop this Nevada Wolfpack offense. Now, like I said, the running back room, it has a lot of depth. It's got a lot of talent, but it's definitely the biggest unknown. We'll see who gets the touches. They have 4 running backs transferring in, all coming from power conference schools. Plus, their 2 most productive runners last year are back in Sean Dollars, who had 527 yards and 6 touchdowns, and Ashton Hayes, who had 102 yards, or I think actually his name is Ashton Hagen. I think I definitely just butchered his last name on that one. But regardless, those all are players that could get involved in this ground game. And of the 4 transfers, it seems like Savion Red from Texas or Patrick Garwo from Boston College would be my best bet as someone to push the incumbent Sean Dollars in order to claim that RB1 position. But Garwo has been injured, so he hasn't necessarily found his way to the field through spring and fall. And then the latest news that I've seen is that Ashton Hagen is actually has been their offensive MVP. Ashton has been the running back. He's a sophomore, I believe, and he's been playing both running back and receiver in fall camp, but he's been super versatile, and the coach Jeff has been impressed. He's been impressed, to say the least. Now you go to the wide receiver room. There are 2 transfers coming in that are likely going to try to push for starting position, and Marcus Bellin from UTEP. He was an all-conference USA honorable mention in the kick return game. And then you have Cortez Braham, who comes from West Virginia. Now, Bellin had some playing time with UTEP. Cortez, not so much. That said, it's actually the lower school transfers that have been making more noise in the fall camp. Jaden Smith coming from Tarleton State and Charles Brown coming from Texas State, making the most noise in this fall camp. Now, last year, Nevada struggled to pass the ball with only 1 receiver over 500 yards receiving and 3 others above 200. All 4 of those receivers are no longer with the program for 2024. So it's a major question mark all across this offense, especially in the skill positions. And this is a position that maybe a freshman could try to step up and make some noise and get involved. But they have a lot of transfers, a lot of unproven talent, a lot of guys trying to answer the call, and we will see if they can hang with a power conference school. You go to the tight ends, one of their 2 tight ends to surpass 100 yards last year is back in Cameron Zeidler. I would expect to see more of him, but also some of that Florida transfer I mentioned as well. That said, similar to yesterday's breakdown, the tight ends don't seem to be featured as much in this offense, more used in a blocking capacity. Now, the offensive line, they have 3 starters locked in Isaiah World, Tyson Ruffins, and Andrew Madrigal. That's the center and all of the left side of the line, but they're still trying to figure out the right guard and the right tackle position, so there's a battle happening in camp there. But overall, there are questions and holes at literally every position of the offense, and it looks like it could be one of the biggest question marks, not only in the Mountain West Conference, but also in the nation. Now, you flip it to the defense, 123rd in total defense last year, 112th in the nation in pass defense, 117th in the nation in rush defense, 114th in scoring defense, and 83rd in turnovers gained. AKA, this defense was terrible, absolutely abysmal last season. But that being said, like I said, completely new staff coming in, and two of the three of this staff have a very, very big defensive focus in Kane Ione and have head coach Jeff Cho. Now, those are guys that are going to take mixtures of the things they've done at Texas, at Montana State, at Boise State, at whatever. And they're going to try and make this a quick flip, especially on the defense. So I think them bringing in an edge rusher from Texas, them bringing in 24 transfers in total, they're going to try to get a lot of experience in there to make some noise, get some chemistry going, get their play style going, and then hopefully entice some recruits to join this and make this a quick turnaround in maybe 2 to 3 years. So I think overall, there's a reason that this program cleaned house and went on to hire one of the best defensive prospect head coaches out there. And this team has been a walking sieve, and they hope to start to change that this upcoming season. So I do think you'll see some improvement on those. Basically, this team was basically 115th, 120th, somewhere in there in the nation defensively. So they're definitely not good on that front, and they're hoping to turn that around. So that's kind of some background on the Nevada Wolfpack, but we're going to talk about strengths, weaknesses, and the make or break for 2024 to end today's show, and that's what's coming up next. First, I got to talk to you about our friends over at eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience, that's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what helps keep your vehicle alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. Anytime I need something for my truck, I'm absolutely turning to eBay Motors. You might ask me, why? Why would you always turn to eBay Motors? What do they have that makes them so good? Well, first off, they have the eBay Guaranteed Fit, which guarantees your part is going to fit your ride every single time or your money back. So you're taken care of. You don't have to worry about getting the wrong thing, wasting money, and then ultimately having to buy more parts. On top of that, eBay Motors has 122 million parts for your ride or die, your vehicle. So you're going to find exactly what you're looking for every single time. So with eBay Motors, you're going to get all the parts you need at the prices you want, and it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and the eBay Guaranteed Fit is for U.S. customers only. All right, Gophers fans, we are wrapping this one up real quick, talking about strengths, weaknesses of this Nevada Wolfpack team, and then possibly the make or break for week 3 for the Gophers against Nevada. Now, when we're talking about strengths, you're talking about a team bringing in a head coach who comes from a winning program, who has a lot of experience, who has played in a college football playoff. That's going to help you in any given scenario. But on top of that, he has a lot of transfers coming from power conference programs, which means he might get more of the talent to make this a quick turn, quicker than maybe some other programs would be able to. On top of that, he has a quarterback returning. So you have someone that is familiar with the culture and the program and maybe can be a leader from jump. You have someone that has already built in some respect for the carryover players and things like that. So that definitely helps, even if his numbers weren't off the charts. But on top of that, you have 24 transfers coming in, meaning potentially a few different breakout seasons from guys who didn't get the opportunity at their power conference schools prior. Now, there's no real film out there on them. That is the number one strength of this team against the Gophers, in my opinion, is that there's no real film out there on this staff defensively. Though Minnesota will luckily have 2 games to break down in those first couple weeks before they end up in this matchup, they can also look to some of their old schools, probably especially for the offensive coordinator on this front, from the Oregon film, the Nebraska film, and the Washington film. But none of them were the guy at their old schools on the defensive side of things. So it's hard to know exactly what they will implement, what types of defense they're going to want to start to mash together and make their own as far as system goes. So this is their biggest strength early on in the year, especially versus a power conference opponent where they will be looking to try and upset and make some early noise. On the flip side, the weakness is you have a coach who has no head coaching experience or certain play calling experience from what I can see. On top of that, quarterbacks have been turnover prone, both the transfer coming in and the previous incumbent. And on top of that, offensive coordinator and his play calling has landed many opportunities that he hasn't been able to sustain, which begs the question of how good is he actually? Now, aside from running back, every other position group on the offense feels like a major question mark, and you don't know what you're going to get. It's a mixed bag. And you know what? I don't even know if it has all the top talent in order to keep up with a conference school. And then lastly, your year one in a new system across the board. Thus, early games in this season for them are learning experiences. You're drinking from a fire hose, and you got to see what can exactly work for your team. You still won't have a team identity by that point yet. Now, make or break for this game in week 3 of 2024, this team is definitely another team Minnesota should absolutely blow out, similar to yesterday. Their defense could provide some issues for Minnesota early if they don't put much on tape. But that being said, the talent level of most of those 24 transfers coming in are from power conference programs, meaning there is potential upside there. If Minnesota gets off to a hot start, this should get ugly in a hurry, and Minnesota fans should be happy. But if Minnesota takes a while to get going, Nevada could hang around and get confident through maybe the third quarter or so, and anything's up for grabs if you can't put the game away by the fourth. Now, that being said, this would be a game I could absolutely see PJ Fleck getting creative early in the passing game, having some shot plays, taking some shots overall, and really putting his foot on the gas early on. And then as you get into like the late second quarter or so, or especially as you get to the second half, he's going to start running the ball like crazy to make sure Minnesota walks away with a win. He's going to want to be comfortable. He's going to want to make sure that they are prioritizing getting a victory here before they have to play Iowa at home. So I think overall, PJ Fleck is going to play this game safe. He's going to make sure Minnesota does everything possible. If that means Darius Taylor gets 30 touches, C.A. Bangura gets 15 touches, and Max Brosmer throws the ball 10 times, he will take that route if it means he will get the dub. So overall, I think the biggest make or break here for Minnesota will be not allowing turnovers. Turnovers are what give life to inferior opponents, inferior programs. It helps spark belief, and that's what helps drive upsets. So as long as Minnesota takes care of the ball and they don't create turnovers offensively, I think they're going to put this game away handily. That's going to do it for us here at Locked On Golden Gophers today. Now, tomorrow we're talking about our first Big Ten opponent. We're talking about a rival opponent. We're talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes. So be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube. You're not going to want to miss that one. I'm definitely going to want to have your thoughts, comments, opinions on the Iowa matchup, and we'll talk about the changes. They have a new offensive coordinator. Will it still look piss poor? We're going to find out, but regardless, I am happy that you're here at Locked On Golden Gophers, and be sure to tell a friend about the show. Be sure to hit subscribe, and be sure to share on other platforms to make sure we find all the Gophers fans we can to build up this community. Until next time, roll the boat, Sky Mago Gophers as always, and please don't forget to hit subscribe.